Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Novel Creature Network. I'm your host, Montrez. For all of my Novel Creature Book Club members out there, thank you for tuning in. And to everyone else who is joining us, thank you for taking your time and taking a chance on our show today. I'm super excited because we have some amazing, just like powerful and inspiring women here today who on their own are just like incredibly amazing. You get them together and it's like we've got the writer's version of the Justice League here. So I'm fangirling. I'm super excited, and I thank you so much for being on here today. But we've got the authors of the Eldritch Trials here today, and I'm just really excited. They are also the our spotlight feature for the month for our book club, and yeah, let's just go. I'm so excited. So the first thing, I know I don't know if we have everybody, but please introduce yourselves and tell us which one of the Eldritch Trials book you wrote and a little bit about yourself. We're so happy to have you here. Anyone
Who's
can
gonna
start.
go first? I guess I'll go first. My name is Jessica Cage. I am a USA Today bestselling author, a fantasy featuring strong characters of color. The Eldritch Trials is my brain baby, and these wonderful women was like, "Yeah, we'll join you for this adventure." I wrote A Corruption of Gilded Ashes, which is about the griffins in this world um, that is governed by a goddess who basically punishes people who don't respect the world that she's given them. I currently have 38 published titles and working on more.
Yes.
That is so impressive. I am KRS McIntyre. I wrote A Dance of Blood and Destiny right here. My I do have another series. It's like a YA dystopian type series called the Eden Saga that starts with saving Eden. So this has been my first like full-length novel outside of that series, and it's been really fun getting to work with these ladies as a team and learning from all of them and just being part of this project. So
Hi, I am A.L. Riley. I wrote A Seeker of Honor and Redemption. I have two books in my Earth series, Earth Awakening, and I have two poetry books and a short story. And I'm sorry I'm in the car, but I'm going to try to participate as much as I can. I'm happy to be here.
No problem. We're happy to have you. Thank you.
Hi, I am D.L. Howard, and I wrote A Blaze of Spirit and Dreams, which is about the kitsune. I have other books out, The Winter Witch duet, and then, sorry, my cat just got into something. And then, and then I just like writing high fantasy, epic fantasy. So when she asked, I was like, heck yeah, let's do this.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being here. It really is a pleasure and an honor to have you guys here. And I know if you're here, guys, our Novel Creature Book Club members, to all our viewers, say hey in the chat so we can shout you out and get some discussion going. Because I'd like to know, for all of my people viewing, which Eldritch Trials book are you reading? Let us know in the comments. Shout out the author. And let's dig in because this world that you've created is just so fascinating. Like from the premise to like behind the scenes and like everything in between. I mean, because we're used to seeing as readers, we're used to seeing authors, kind of collaborate for anthologies. But what made you create this? First of all, like how did you create the concept for the Eldritch Trials? And what was this collaboration process like for a series of novels? These aren't short stories we're talking about. These are full featured novels. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, so the concept of Eldritch Trials came from me just kind of sitting and reflecting on the world that we live in and wondering, like, what if there was like an embodiment of Mother Goddess or of Mother Nature, I should say, who punished us for how we're treating the world? Like, our world is suffering simply because we're here, right? And so many of us have this individualistic like thought process, and we are all like, well, those are the people doing it. We didn't do it. You know, I recycle my plastics. You know what I mean?
Right.
But meanwhile, that frame of mind is leading to the destruction of our world, right? So I have been thinking about this for a while. Like, what would happen if our God or goddess or whoever you believe in actually held us accountable for what we're doing here? Like, if there was something greater than us that was like, yo, look at the world, look at your home. You know what I mean? Like, why are you doing this? And so I created Eldritch Trials because I wanted to explore that concept. Like, we have a goddess who created this one world. She's among a bunch of gods and goddesses who are just popping out worlds like Tic Tacs. She's created this one that she cares so deeply about. So much to the point that she's like, okay, this is my world, and all these little things are like appearing. But if they start to do something that negatively impacts the world, that this precious thing that I've created, then I'm going to hold them accountable for it, right? So that's where the concept came from, is just like looking around. And I think that's where a lot of like fantasy stories and concepts, we look at the world we live in and we try to like think of some amazing solution to the problems that we're seeing, right? Um, and so I wanted to do shared worlds. This is actually the second shared world that I've done, because some of these projects are so big, and I know my readers are going to be like, give me more books. And I'm always getting questions of like, asking for other Black women in fantasy, like other fantasy authors that I can share with them. And I was like, okay, this is a way to get these projects done, but also support and showcase other authors who my readers are asking for anyway, right? So the hope is that they come in through one book, they love it so much that they just go through and gobble up everyone else's book. And then along the way, they're like meeting new authors that they can love, and enjoy. The process, though, I think we can all speak a little bit on the process of the collaboration. Because when I hit them up, I'm like, you're gonna have to be bothered with me for like 2 years. Like, this is not like a one and done, because we need to make sure that, you know, when they move from book to book, they feel like they're in the same world. I wanted it to feel like you're going to different countries. Like, if you're on Earth and you're going to different cultures, they have their own belief systems and things of that nature, but you know that you're still on Earth, right? So in order to accomplish that, we had to have like multiple Zoom meetings and conversations and build out our, you know, world book together. And one of the things that happens is that one person will bring up something that I myself may have not even considered in my world building. And then it also becomes kind of a learning situation where we get to learn a little bit from each other. But I'm going to shut up and let other people chime in now.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Like, first of all, how you created everything, and then like your take on the process. Please don't shut up. You guys talk as much as you want to talk. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too. This being my first like fantasy book, like I was kind of like intimidated by the concept of building a fantasy world, because I feel like the book I wrote before was dystopian, so it still took place on Earth. But this was like my first time like creating like a whole world and magic system like that took place in a completely different place outside of Earth or outside of the world. So that was a lot of fun. And it was actually like, I think, helpful to see what other people were doing in the process of like doing the world building and stuff like that. So
And I want to. We have E.M. Lacey here. Thank you for joining us. Like I was telling the viewers, it's like having like the Justice League here. We've got some powerful writers here. So thank you for joining us. Do you mind introducing yourself to everyone and letting us know which of the Eldritch Trials books you wrote?
Oh, cool. Hi, I am E.M. Lacey. I write dark fantasy, YA horror, and I authored Song of Sin because, werewolves.
Are there any werewolf lovers in the building? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to tell us which Eldritch Trials book you're reading. But while we're on, we wanted to know what the creative process was like for you in this collaboration. I mean, typically we have like authors collaborate on anthologies, but we're talking whole novels, all based in one world. I mean, it's just so immersive. And Jessica, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, how you hope that, you've introduced your readers to a whole bunch of authors and we just gobble up all the books. I think I've added like all the books on my list and I didn't know which one I wanted to choose for our book club. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but I had a reel where you can just screenshot and just randomly choose because they all sound fascinating. So yeah, but tell us about the collaboration process. And we've got DL. You wanted to add anything or tell us about your experience?
I thought it was pretty cool being able to pick the brains of other authors.
Mhm.
And I love fantasy. This is like my thing. So actually being able to pick the brain of Jessica Cage was just like really awesome. And then I love don't be looking off like that. Because I loved her books, and I don't know how I came across her books one day, but I just did. And then I loved her world, and then I liked the books of E.M. Lacey too. And then of course I didn't really get into dystopian, and I read Keisha's books, and so being able to pick all of the brains and the other authors that's in the series is just I like that part. I really, they say writing is like a solitary adventure, but being able to write with other people while it's still being solitary, it actually made me not be so introverted. So yeah, I dig it.
That's
It's
awesome.
fun.
Oh yeah. And let's see, can you guys hear me?
We
Hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. Because I always sometimes the audio gets weird with me. But I was gonna say writing with this group in particular, just one, I met Jessica. Like I got to know Jessica like in person, running around doing the indie author thing at the very beginning, like back like what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
It's been a while. But just like watching her grow as an author, participating, I got to participate in the Rise of the Elites, which was really cool. And just at first, the first attempt at Shared World, I thought like it seemed intimidating because it's like, well, it's not my story, but actually it is because the world you build is yours. It's just it's like what is it? It's like renting. Like you're renting a place. So the apartment's yours. You can decorate it however you want, but you have to follow the rules of management. So that's what writing in a shared world is like. And then the even cooler part is just the fellowship among writers. Like I feel like I've made like a best friend forever with D because we're both horror fans and we talk all things horror, and it's like you meet your kindred spirits. Like I got to meet, KRS McIntyre with the diverse group. Like just I got accepted in the anthology and then I get to mingle with the other authors. And it's just nice to find other women of color who write the genre that I grew up loving, but I never saw myself in.
preach that. Yes, that's so true. And
And I
from
just wanted to add one thing to what you were saying about Evangeline Fellowship. I've been a part of other shared worlds like years ago, but they would literally say like, "This is what we're writing," and then you wouldn't talk to the other authors. Like I don't know those people. I couldn't point them out in the crowd. I couldn't tell you what were going on in their books. I feel like going from book to book is disjointed because we've never had a conversation together. And I was like, to me, that was a huge problem because if it's a shared world, it should feel like the authors knew what each other were doing. And, like when I moved from book to book. So, like, that's why when I invite people, and I always have people like, when are you doing another one? When are you doing another? I'm like, this is almost a 2-year process, guys. Like, it's not like I'm just pumping this out in 6 months because I do want us to get to know each other. I do want us to work well together and build these relationships because it's 2 years to publish, but we still got to promote and do things like we have to know and like each other. You know what I mean? We have to build a little community. So again, I was just so excited. Like I invite the people that I see out here already doing the thing and like I know that they're going to bring something amazing to the table. and then to be able to bring them all together. And this group, like, we all just kind of meshed so well from early on. And it was just like, okay, this is going to be dope. And I'm blown away by how successful it's already been. So
Yeah, I think it's awesome because I was going to ask you, what was your vetting process like for this to know that you were going to have an exclusive kind of like relationship with the people that you were collaborating with? 2 years.
yeah.
I mean, and to have such a positive experience. How did you said you just kind of vetted everybody, you kind of just spied out whose work you kind of liked and the things that, kind of like their track record.
Yeah, I mean, I invite the people that I want to work with. People were like, "Is there an application process?" No, I'm not. I'm not going through applications. I invite the people whose energy I feel like is good on their own. Like, I see them promoting their own work, because one thing I don't want to do is invite people who are not going to help us promote and get the word out.
Yep.
KRS McIntyre, Evangeline, like, they are phenomenal. Like, one of the things that I can attest to, my weakness is like the continuous networking, right? I will network so much and then I'm gonna sit in my bubble for a year. Like, that's me, right? But those are their strong suits. Like, they're out there humping and networking and building these connections. DL Howard brought to the table like creative processes. She built the map for us. Like, she pulled everything together. So it's like I've read and loved her work already. That's another thing. I've read all of their work. Like, I know their work, and I'm like, okay, these are people that I've enjoyed myself as a reader, that as an author I've seen putting in work for themselves, you know what I mean, and really building on their own, and that I know that I can introduce my readers to these ladies, and they're gonna fall in love, because I already have, you know what I mean? So it's that system. It's not like, oh, someone put in an application and like,
I love that.
like, are you inviting people who have a certain amount of followers? No, because a lot of them didn't even have a TikTok following when we started this, but now they've built their platform throughout us doing this, right? It's not even it's about what I see as an author, what I feel as a reader, and what I think my readers will enjoy. And that's how I pick the authors I bring in.
That's amazing. I love it. So it's definitely built something here, and I'm so excited to dive more into what we're talking about today. So my next question for you, and you kind of touched on a little bit, because you talked about your collaborating process and kind of what everyone brings to the table. But can you tell us more? Because one of the things that I really appreciated as a reader, writer, and an editor is, in fantasy world, sometimes I feel there's a lack of creativity in the language and the culture of the worlds that are created. Like, even in mainstream stuff that we all know and love, like Witcher, they're dropping the F-bomb. It's like, get creative, come up with your own language. You created a whole other world, and this is what you've done for us. At the beginning of every book, there's information that helps us to kind of get more familiar with the world. You've made it in such a way where it's unique, but it's relatable. It's not too much info dumping. It really kind of helped to invite us in the world. So can you tell us more about how you guys develop these unique terms and vocabulary, and where you get the inspiration from?
Someone else want to jump in? We were on Zoom, just like, we need curse words. We didn't. I mean, and that's the thing. We didn't. This is a whole new world that's apart from Earth. They can't just be dropping F-bombs. Like, it doesn't make sense. They wouldn't know those words.
I remember I didn't realize there would be a glossary. So then I was like, this is going to confuse people. So then I had like a few curse words in my book, and then I went through and removed them all just because I don't want to confuse the readers. And then there's a glossary. But
yeah, the glossary and like the pronunciation of the names up front. Because in my book, I was like, people are not going to know how to say any of these names, because a lot of their names are tied to their relationship to the goddess, right? Certain names in certain ways that tells their position in their society. So it was just like, oh, we need to help the reader before they get in and get lost, especially when you have a little girl running around screaming Fatu, which is like one of the worst words to say in this world, right? And they're gonna be like, what is she saying, right? So we wanted to, and I've seen other books that do glossaries, but they're typically at the back. And I'm like, I get to the back, like, well, this would have been nice to know when I was
Right.
struggling through this entire book. So we decided to put it up front. But the process, it was some random moments that we were just
Random?
like, we need
It was
this.
all
Or
random.
I think it was Kish Knight who
Mm-hmm.
actually was like, we should probably define our own terms for certain things. Like she's the one that brought it to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were all like, yeah, you're right. And then we spent time on Zoom just kind of like
Making up curse words.
yeah, mostly curse words. I don't know
'Cause
why
my
we got so
character
deep
needed
into the
them.
curse words. We need foul language.
Yeah, I just think that's always been one of my things that I've always wanted more of in fantasy, like an actual culture beyond ours where you can kind of really escape. And then not only that, but like you had it in a certain vernacular that I think is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It touches a demographic that doesn't, we don't usually get our
Mhm.
slangs and our style addressed in fantasy. So that's an extra level of appreciation and chef's kiss to you guys for, just really making it something, especially for our black and brown sisters to
Mhm.
and just lovers of diverse reading where we can identify, we can relate, but it's still like totally fantastical. And so I really think you guys are onto something. You really created something here. Um, and for fun, I would like for you to give us a tour guide. What experience would readers have if they visited your particular world, your particular story? Take us on a tour and sell us on why we should go.
Hmm.
Um,
One.
well, I'll start because my world, even though it's just like all one land, there are like three different sections based on the three types of different. I call my kitsune volpi. So there's three different types of volpi in this world, and they all have like different personalities. They really don't like each other. None of them really like the other kind, the clans or whatever. So, and they all have different cultures within this one whole culture. So you get to meet like all new stuff, and meet like different people. It's like you have like one giant country and there's like different sections of like, oh, they're northerners or those are southerners, but you're all one whole people.
Mhm.
And then they have like we have the mother goddess, but they have like a whole pantheon of gods and goddesses that they believe that they call them spirits and stuff like that. So and they really do believe in their pantheon, and then like the mother goddess is just like, ooh, the top notch. So you'll see a lot of their culture, they incorporate their religion into like their way of living. So it's a really unique experience. So go visit, just don't get in trouble because no.
I would say my the kind of where I got my inspiration from was I actually kind of thought it was cool since we were all like black women creating a fantasy world together to kind of pull some things from African mythology. So like some of the creatures I have in my book are from African mythology, like the Aziza Fae, the the type of vampire that's in my story. So like in addition to that, like for some reason I've always just loved like I picture like this like Caribbean type coastal community with like African vibes, but also like a little bit of like cozy cottagecore vibes, but also dangerous. And I know that's a lot to kind of throw into like one place, but I think it was really fun to come up with and create like that world and the little things that they had there. And my character's from a very like small like community, and then also getting to go out and experience other fun places like during the process. Some of our locations take place in multiple books, so like Kish's book and Dee's book, we all had this location called Ravenfall, and it's a very like it's a big city, lots of different cultures coming together, kind of a little bit steampunk inspired. So it's like been very fun to like kind of create all of these different places in the book. So
It gives me NYC vibes. Ravenfall. Yeah. Yeah. it's like a little bit of everybody there. You got your clubs, you got like your sightseeing. It's like a giant mecca, but steampunk wise. Yeah.
Mhm.
Huh. Well, let's see. For my werewolves, like when I think werewolf, I think nature because they're wolves. And then my wolves, at least their alpha is a big fat jerk. So he's separated them from everyone else. And it's like I feel like it's more life living in a compound, but that compound is nature. And he's literally drawn a solid line between the commoners and his elite. And so it's cool. It's more of the wolves outside of his compound, they're getting by, but they're always outliers. We just see the injustice of it all. And for my character, at first, it seems like she's indifferent because she herself is unique and she's actually a hybrid. So she's already like double rejected because she's not technically a full werewolf and she sort of lives in a like a territory. She lives in a territory that's set just for the non-werewolves. So it's segregation within an already segregated community, and just for their freedom to actually come through her, and her learning that, her heart actually isn't so hard, that there is actually some care in there. And just even like her adopted sister, which is pretty cute, is like a duck shifter. And I got the idea from another group that I follow, like with urban fantasy. And someone's like, wow, it'd be cool to have a book with a duck shifter. And I'm like, duck shifter it is. And and it's really neat because I take some of the facets. It's nature, science in general is just super cool. And so even for the science of a duck, there comes a point where I literally have a gender bend in there. And I was like, it's gonna be cool once readers see this part. Haha. So it was a cool adventure because you see the ugliness of wolves, because sometimes I feel like, when it comes to wolf culture, it's just sort of romanticized. But I'm
Yes.
like, animals are hard. They're
Yeah.
hard on each other. And it's literally day to day, it's a fight for survival. And in my book, it's like horror. I feel like it's more horror than anything because their world is hard, and it just shows a level of what they need to do to survive. It's either you like expose your belly to the leader, or you get up and fight for your place. And that's sort of how everything flows through in that particular territory. And
Yeah.
I also add like a little of that Native American culture as well.
That's awesome. So we've got a survivalist world. We've got kind of a Caribbean tropical. We've got like an NYC Mecca. What are we bringing, Jessica? Tell us about your world.
That's a lot to follow up. When readers come to my world, they're going to be underwater. The majority of my book happens underwater, um, because I was like, I want to write about griffins. But if you read any of my book, you know that I love making hybrids of things. I love playing the mad scientist and blending things together. And when I was doing research, I found like one random wiki page about water griffins, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. And I couldn't find any other information about this. It was like one person was like water griffins, and I was like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run with it. And so my main character is actually a water griffin, and most of her story obviously takes place underwater in this world, and you get to explore um everything that's just like so uniquely them. I don't typically pull a lot from the mythologies and like that we have. I try to build things uniquely to the culture. So like even with the way that they dress and the way they present themselves, they have four forms, and if they are in their true like water griffin form all the time, they're one of like the counselors, the elders of the community, right? If they're just swimming around looking like a mermaid, they're usually one of the younger, more like laid back. people, the royals all have to wear heavy clothing, and they have to weigh their hair down with beads because that is a representation of their strength as they move through the water. Because most people would probably just sink to the floor, but because they've been training like this their entire life, they have all this heavy stuff that represents their royalty underwater, right? These are the little things of culture that I've pulled into it. And that's one of the things, like, my main character is like jealous of her little sister because her little sister gets to like run around with her hair all over the place because her mom's like, she's eased up over the years on these rules and traditions. And she like, I still got to wear these heavy old beads on my hair. This is not fair, right?
Right.
But then you also get to see like their home and then outside of it, because in this world there is a massive underwater like presence, right, that most people on land will never see. You get to see creatures that I've created, like the Kanoko, which is an underwater fairy, a sentient being who is powerful in their own right, and they're irritated because people are like, oh, y'all can't come out the water. You get to see the Spiritu, which is basically a massive seahorse, but don't try to ride their back. You're gonna get, you know what I mean, messed up. So you get to explore like the other cities and the parties and some of the games that I've created for them to play underwater. There's literally like a point where they are gambling underwater in this party and things get really, intense, right? So it's a huge culture underwater experience. But there, as far as the experience of the story, there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of death. This heavy and dark themes. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to really get to the point when I invited them all in, I was like, we need to be able to break our characters psychologically, right? So these stories are going to be emotionally kind of draining. I've had readers hit me up after chapter 4, like, girl, what are you doing? I just got and I don't know, it's chapter 4. I guess just beware of chapter 4, because every time I get a message there in chapter 4, like, I don't know if I'm ready for the rest of this book because it's chapter 4 and it's like 30 more chapters. What are you doing to me? But yeah, it's just, you get to see their magic. Like, they have special ways of like creating light underwater, and they have special traditions, like their guardians have to chase down a scurry ghost fish, ethically extract the ink from this fish. They cannot kill it, and then tattoo their own face. And that's the only way that they become a royal guardian, right? So you get to explore this culture that is like uniquely to these water griffin. And then also you get to go on land and deal with their counterpart, the land griffins. But I am more obsessed with the underwater world. So prepare as you enter to be sad and, a little wet from all the water. Bring some tissues, maybe some ice cream, you'll be fine.
So, wow. So, see, guys, this is exactly why I have problems choosing which book I want to read. I think you guys just have a buffet for us. I mean, it's just amazing. And big shout out to Written in Melanin, Chelsea Lockhart. Thank you for tuning in. She said that she loves that kind of lore, and she was laughing at the underwater game.
I actually like built I need to like release that for people to try to play it, because I took my time to actually build the actual game. Like, there's a real game that I've constructed, because I was like, the rules have to make sense, even though I only showcased it for like a scene. Like, it's not like they're playing it constantly, but it needs to make sense up here for them to be so upset about losing. So yeah.
Tattoo your own face. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that either. You gotta set down the animal to do it. Then you gotta, that's a lot. You really gotta want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. But yeah, so listen, I don't know if I could survive in the worlds that you created. Maybe, since there are no humans, we're all some sort of supernatural mythological creature. But I don't know if I could survive among the wolves, but I want to read that story. I don't know how I would do underwater. I think that's really unique how you talked about the hair. Like, I never thought about how heavy hair could be underwater. So like, just the way you guys are building these worlds just shows I have so much mad appreciation for that. Because sometimes I feel like fantasy, we're just so lazy with it. But like, when we do it right, this is the result. Like, you just want to get lost in these stories. And so my hat's off to all of you for like, I mean, you said you had to build up the game for
I mean,
your
I guess I didn't technically have to create the entire, but it just didn't make sense to like. I needed to understand the stakes. You know what I mean?
right.
Right.
Maybe it's like a part of the ADHD for me. I'm like, I can't just have them playing a game I don't understand. So let me sit here and write the rules out.
That's
And it's
so
a, I mean, it's a fun game, but I could definitely understand why it would lead to what it did. So yeah.
awesome. Chelsea said, of course you made it. I would definitely be, so Written Melanin says, I would definitely be the first to die. Would not make it. Do not Trials. Otherwise, we're all doomed. I'm there to read all about it. I'm like fully immersed and committed to reading each and every one of these books because they're all so fascinating. Like I wanna see the fairies with the African lore. I want to visit the world, like all the worlds with the wolves and the kitsune and the like learn about their cultures, but do not put me in that world. I'm not gonna make it.
One thing I thought was really cool about the trials in particular, I mean, we kind of compared it to the Hunger Games, like the Hunger Games, but with supernatural creatures. But it's not exactly like the Hunger Games because in the Hunger Games, they're pitted against each other. And in this story, it's kind of like you're facing your own inner demons and you're facing your own fears. And I thought that was really cool. Like a character that has to go through trials specifically tailored to themselves and like their own inner demons and like to become a better person out on on the other side of it all. So I thought that concept was kind of cool.
Listen, my character didn't want to do the trials either, so I totally get it. She was mad.
And here I have the character that's sneaking behind her mom's back, like, I'm going to do this.
Oh, I think I got one better. Mine had to be escorted by guard because she sort of kind of accidentally killed the original champion.
Oh,
So she becomes the champion by default. And, you know, and I will say the part that was the most immersive, even when it came to writing, is just sort of going through the trials with your character. Like, it's that whole mind game thing. And there's a scene where I have my character where she's facing like discovering things that she never knew about the mother that she's come to love because she's adopted and just processing all that. Plus, it's that whole do I really want to do this for everybody? And just that will to complete it and like sort of just coming to grips with so much. And I'm like, I feel like, okay, we all need a Xanax here because this is a lot.
And I mean, at the beginning, I gave everyone a list of the virtues that their goddess cares about, right? So it's like your character, these are the virtues that the goddess is going to be testing them on. And there has to be something inside them that maybe they're not even fully aware of that goes against one of the virtues, right? But the characters have, I think, five, right? Five.
Six.
Yeah, 5 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah, virtues that it's not just a one and done. Like there's multiple, you're like, oh, I did it. No, you got 4 more challenges to go through, right? Because she's going to try to break you mentally, emotionally, physically in some instances. But like Keisha said, they're not pitted against each other. You're against yourself pretty much. You're battling your own demons. And I feel like it's relatable because how many of us are going through something like that in our everyday life? Like we're trying to get through people out here doing shadow work and stuff. It's like if your god or goddess forced you to do shadow work, like that's what's happening for these characters.
My poor character needed a hug at the end of the book. I put her through the ringer. I felt bad like halfway through the book. I was like, man, I'm sorry. And I'm still like just making her go through it. She needed it. She needed to be like tore to pieces and then built back together as a better person. So
yeah,
that's awesome. And I think that like the way you constructed the trials really shows kind of more, it reveals more about the character for the goddess who is kind of in charge of everything. And it just shows I really, again, just beautiful attention to world building, character development. So not only are you taking us to all these really cool and amazing unique spaces in your world, but you are putting us through an emotional roller coaster. So everybody reading the Eldritch Trials, just hold on to your seat. Have, like she said, have your tissues, have your ice cream, whatever is going to make you feel better, and then maybe give your book a hug at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it like in Friends? Put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
You bring up an interesting question, and it leads right into kind of another question I wanted to ask you, Lucy, when you said that you felt like you were kind of going on the journey with your character. So, real quick, novel creatures, if you're in the building, if you're watching, let us know which world that you would like to visit. Um, let us know in the comments. And then while they're doing that, let's talk about if you could trade places with your character, would you do anything differently? Or what would it be like for you to go through those trials? How would the story change or stay the same? Like, because literally, you just said you're putting them through the ringer. How would it be for you?
Ooh.
I don't know if I have the strength.
Yeah.
Man.
It's like I feel like for my character, it's just that introspection because ah, I don't know. I probably walk out of there straight into like a let's see, straight into like a white jacket that ties around
Hmm.
because I don't know if I could take it. I'm like, it's a lot because for my character, it's like for my character in particular, there's a lot of stuff because that's gone on in her lineage. And it's like, though she hates the way the alpha behaves, it's like she has a lot in common with him. And it's like people, like that saying goes, like you can move, you can change locations, but you can't change yourself. Like you take yourself with you. So you still have to deal with yourself. And I feel like even though we all grow, it's like you still have those things about you that sort of creep back up, like those bad habits, those things that you have to stop and look at and deal with them and move forward. So yeah, I mean, with the trials, it's challenging, but I feel like we go through it all the time, even as writers. That whole imposter syndrome. I think I had like a month of just struggling with imposter syndrome. Like I can't write, and it's not that I can't write. I'm too inside my head, and I'm not stepping away and letting my character speak. And it's just those things. Like I feel like every writer goes through it as they write a piece. It's like you're there, you're in your trial, and you got to deal with whatever it is that's got you stuck. And then once you figure it out, you move forward. So yeah, I feel like even though the trials would probably put me in a special place with lots of medication, I feel like we all go through it. And it's like I sort of go through it every time I write a piece that means something to me, that I sort of go through it because I'm like, you're putting your baby out there. And, it's like, will people love it? If they hate it, I don't know. It's like, it's just that anxiousness. But it's still worth it, especially when people like come away and are like, "Oh my gosh, this was great," or whatever the criticism. It's finally out there and you did it.
It's so true.
I would say that the story would pretty much be the same because my character goes through a lot of mourning, and I was actually mourning the loss of my grandfather while writing this book, which is why I think I'm getting messages about them crying after chapter 4 because I was probably here like, typing and crying. Um, this character faces the change of the matriarch, the patriarch in her family. Like she's facing her position in this world. She's having a lot of like self-identity crisis issues as well. And it's interesting because I feel like authors always get a question of like how much of yourself is in the book. And we while writing it, it's like this is not me. But then I go back and I'm like, oh dang. Like I was definitely working through some stuff with this character. So I feel like as much as she is a part of me, she, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the story would change that much. I would like to say that I would do things differently because I know how the story ends. I know what, like, girl, I would have went to that meeting. Girl, I would have did this because I, you know, the story is over now. But in that moment, if I was in her shoes in this storyline, it probably would have gone the exact same way because of the suffering, of the mourning, of this tremendous loss that her people suffer. You know what I mean? Like, we can look back and say what we'll do after loss, but when you're in it, when it's like present time, sometimes all that logic is just not there. It's emotion. It's, you know, you have to go through the stages of grief. So she's going through the stages of grief for so many reasons, and then entering this difficult challenge from their god is immediately, even during that process, right? So it's like, I would hope that I would be successful in the challenge, but I don't know that much would change in the actual like progression of the story.
I agree. I feel like even though every character in every book I write is very different, like their personalities are different, I always think even if you're not trying to, there's always going to be a bit of yourself in that character. So I feel like in some ways I want to do the same things that my character did because I'm trying to create a character that is doing the type of things that I believe should be done in those situations. So I feel like my character, I had a beta reader while in the process of writing the book who just could not stand my main character. So then I felt like I got like offended. I'm like, hey, I guess like maybe the things that they didn't like about the character are those things about me. But it was really helpful, like to work through that and to work through that in the process of like writing the book and just seeing different perspectives of the character. And just making that character stronger throughout the way. So
I don't think I would actually do anything different because I can see a little of myself in my character. Like, she's all like tough and don't like anybody really, but underneath all that tough exterior, she's like a big giant teddy bear and she don't want anybody to know, and she really cares for the people that she actually likes. And so all the crap now, all the crap that she actually goes through, I don't know if I could survive it. I'm like E.M. Lacey, I would probably end up in the, you know, certain part of a hospital in a white little jacket, padded room. But other than like her testing things, how when she discovers herself and, she realizes that, that she is enough and she don't care about what other people think.
Right.
I've been through a moment like that in myself. So I think that's where I was like, oh, you know what? This is kind of like me, but not like me, but I can relate. So I think I would keep things the same.
That's awesome. So, I mean, like, it's just so much that you guys have created with this. Like, through the struggle, it's like empowerment and healing. We get to like travel. It's amazing. So, if you're watching this now, go ahead and just click all of them. If you have, I think.
Say that.
Is it?
I think someone's phone is vibrating.
Oh, sorry.
Oops.
I moved up. Sorry.
Okay. But like, y'all, click the link. Just get all the books. They're all available on Kindle Unlimited too, right?
For a limited time. So
Yes.
actually, they're going to start coming out in October. So October, they're going to start coming out of KU, and we're going to start publishing them wide.
So guys, get on that. Binge read if you haven't started already. But we got some comments, and this is some good stuff in here. Oh man, so Brendan Mellon said, that fight like psychologists. That's a good field there. Like, if you survive the trials, just head straight to therapy there, and just.
Oh, I was going to respond to that one because for my character, she didn't really have much training. And the main thing that her mentor stressed is like, you got to like focus here. Not so much because she was sort of frustrated because she's like, well, what about fighting? 'Cause that was her focus. And he's like, no, 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 no. It's whatever it is you fear, whatever it is you hate, those are the things that you're going to do battle with. What's here? What can't, like you got to ask yourself those questions when you go in. That's what you're up against.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same. Like my character had to like master meditation. And she's like, this is stupid. I need to be like learning weaponry. He's like, no, you don't. Like when you go in there, it's all
Yep.
up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not like you're going to be in there fighting people. It's going to be hearing your brain. So yeah.
And I think you guys bring up a really good point because, you talk about how in the development of this, how, it's how messed up our world is and how, everything is going on. You talked about, reflecting on the state of our world. And then you create this story where you're not fighting everybody else like we may want to do, when we look at stuff and we get mad at kind of how things are going. But you talk about kind of an inward fortitude and getting your mind together and things like that. And I think that's just such a unique take, to see like in your shared worlds how, again, you're not fighting other people trying to get ahead, you're mastering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such an important theme, to take with us. So thank you for sharing that and for letting us know that. And let's see, getting going. Gotta send the most. Okay, and guys, I apologize. I do not have my glasses. As a mom of a toddler, I put them up, and I can't find them. Nobody could find them.
I've been there.
If I screw up your comments, I'm sorry. So just screening people for mommy issues and childhood trauma.
I feel like those are probably the people who are actually entering the challenge, though.
The
My
thing
character
is,
was definitely not mentally adjusted when she entered. So
I kind of see the challenges as a form of therapy for the characters, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like the
Yeah.
travel for their therapy, because hopefully by the time they face all those things, they'll come out a little more mentally sane than they went in. That's my hope. And maybe a little more traumatized too, but
the shadow work journal. That journal has been all over my FYP.
Yes, the shadow work journals. That's all I see now.
Get that away from me. I'm not
Yeah,
doing that.
let's see,
I'm like, my
under-
character. Oh, I was gonna say my character literally has a shadow following her
Oh
from
wow.
trial to trial.
She's doing the actual shadow work.
Yeah, so she has to do the literal shadow work.
Wait,
But
so this is all a metaphor for doing
Yeah.
the work, working on yourself. That's something.
It's so interesting that I'm like so fascinated. I have thalassophobia, which means I am afraid of large masses of water. And then I write a book that's pretty much completely underwater. And I'm like creating all these amazing new whales and creature types and sharks. And it's crazy because it's like if I were actually in that world, I would not go anywhere near that water. I would be.
But I think that's the beauty of imagination, being able to create it and read it. You can visit places and do things that you would never do in real life or couldn't dare dream of. So it's beautiful. You can kind of conquer and face your fear in a like positive way that you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy for me. See, it's working.
My thumb would probably be under the water. I would always be interested in. So you would visit underwater, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll have to sit in a corner and read these books. Yes.
Do it.
FKU.
Do it.
Go ahead and just like binge, like just make it a weekend, just shut up and in a corner and just tell everyone not to bother you and go ahead. Like all these worlds are, yeah.
And it's perfect for spooky season that we're entering. So,
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Zero said, I'm trying to read them today and buy them. Yes, just look, I downloaded all of them on my Kindle. I could not choose because this was our feature for the month. And it's just like, just choose your own adventure here. We've got so many wonderful things. I try to do that each month. Just pick your own adventure. And so Eldritch Trials was just perfection for that. But I think all of them are going to be my adventure. They're all on my Kindle. So yes.
And they are written so you can just jump in, get in where you fit in type of thing. So they are standalones. You don't have to read them in any particular order, which I think also really helps the reader because in each book you will be introduced to other characters, right? So like
Mhm.
in my book, you're introduced to like Delisha Jenkins' character, right? So you can jump from my book to her book, or you can go somewhere else. You know what I mean? But there's these crossover points where you're like, oh, well, now I really want to see more about that character,
Mhm.
and you get a brief introduction of them at some point in their path. And then the same thing. So there's two crossovers in each book. So you'll meet two characters. So you can go either way out of that book, but then eventually
Mhm.
you'll come full circle.
Yeah.
It's this is just perfection. I'm so happy that we could feature you guys this month, and thank you so much for coming on because this is just perfection. Yes, the baby playing hide and seek with the glasses. I may have him too well, but I don't know. He's like a little MacGyver. He may have found them.
Oh yeah, no. I think I could I envision your baby coming out with the glasses looking at you. I'm like,
In the
"Hey
middle of the
mom."
interview, because that's
Yep.
what my son would do.
Yeah, he's in his villain era, so we're working things out. We're working things. If you are watching and to any of our viewers, if you have any questions, I know I've been hogging our authors here, but if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know in the comments and we'll address them as much as possible. If you're watching this later and you want to comment, let us know. Yeah, you can send them in and I'll try to get them to everyone here. I know we're running out of time. This is a rabbit hole, the worlds that you have created, but I do want to give you guys your props and let us know about, because like you said, you did this project because you get so many questions about other authors who are doing the thing, and you have a roster here. You are all just fantastic in your own right, bringing your own voices, your own style. We got our super authors here. Tell us about your previous and upcoming works and let us know how we can support and celebrate what you're doing. We want all the details and some exclusives, maybe. Share some stuff.
Let's see. So previous and upcoming works. Let's see. I am writing, like I've written Biggs, Meyer and the Vampire. It's basically it's basically vampires can have legal problems, and so you need lawyers who can handle stuff like that. And in my world of Biggs and Meyer, humans and paranormals have agreed to live together, coexist. But before they coexisted, behind the scenes, like politics, there needed to be like a covenant hashed out with hard and fast rules. And with those rules, there needed to be lawyers trained in the paranormal because humans are going to human and we're going to like walk all over and mess up when it
Yep.
comes to the laws of witches, vampires, werewolves, you name it. We're just going to do it. That's just what we are, self-destructive and just special. So the little firm of Biggs and Meyer in a fictional part of Illinois, Covenant, Illinois, you know, they stepped up to the task and they trained and learned the rules of law, which means they had to learn a little bit of magic. So these guys are pitted against a very arrogant vampire who is bent on being a vampire. Rules be damned, I'm gonna be me. So they're in battle with him, and there's also like a little dark web of other paranormals who agree with him. So it's a battle between humans and vampires and a set of witches. And I bring in science because being a nerd, I'm gonna science. And it's like the law of nature, and just even with science, if something foreign is introduced into an environment, all the creatures around it are going to adapt to it. So humans, no matter how far down their genealogy, that within their lineage were introduced to anything paranormal, a lot of that is starting to wake up as the paranormals are starting to emerge.
Oh,
So it's like they're learning to fight, or they're starting to develop skills that they like, powers that they never imagined. And so this is the world of Biggs and Meyer. And I'm actually revamping it a little bit because I had a few reviews that were like, oh, this was just too short. I'm like, oh boy, wait till you see the next part. So I'm adding a couple of chapters, and within adding a couple of chapters, I have an offshoot. So that's being written. And, so I'm, tweaking that. And upcoming will be the median novel, which I have no title for yet, but it's key to everything that's going on in the world of Biggs and Meyer. But A Gathering of Witches is the next one. So that's where, you know, I guess you could say, what is it? Everything. Well, I'm old. I forget some of the sayings, but but it's gonna go down basically in book three. Things are gonna start to really happen. And so that book is upcoming. And then there's a collection of short stories I've been playing with called, and the book is called All Fun and Games Until Someone Triggers the Apocalypse.
Ooh.
So that's
Oh,
going to
I
be
love that
fun.
title.
Me
Mhm.
Those, yeah. So those, I'm actually tweaking the stories. Most of them are already written. I'm just sort of tweaking and revising and sort of planning the sequence of them, and
Mhm.
then it's off to beta readers. Then, we'll get some editing after that. So that's where I am. That's what's in the hopper right now.
Okay.
too.
I'm gonna definitely have to read that. So I guess for me, what I've been working on, I guess I'll talk about my other books and I'll talk about what I've been working on. So my main series, I actually happen to have one right here. The Eden Saga is like a YA dystopian post-apocalyptic type story. And it follows each book in the series. It's a 3 book series, and each book is kind of a standalone, and they each follow a different main character. So you can kind of start wherever you want, but the stories do interconnect and kind of like take place like on a timeline. So you can kind of see how the world has changed over time as the stories go on. Um, so that was really fun to put together. Like I said, A Dance of Blood and Destiny is my first like full length novel beyond
Mhm.
finishing the Eden Saga series. And then what I'm working on now, I wrote this short story called Grace and Ghost in an anthology called Girls of Might and Magic. And I've gotten so much good feedback from that short story from multiple people. Like people just there's something about that story that people love. So I've been wanting to expand that into a full length novel that
Mhm.
takes place in that world. Um, so I've actually kind of outlined a 2 book duology. Um, and the first book will be Grace's Guide to Hearts and Hauntings, and then the second one will be Grace's Guide to Myths and Magic.
Ooh.
And I'm just really excited to like actually bring that to life. So that'll be probably the next full length thing coming from me. But it's been with my life, the way my life is set up, it's been hard to find like the time to write and complete things. So I'm not going to put a date stamp on that, but that'll probably be the next full length project I'm working on. Other than that, I submitted a short story to like a dystopian romance anthology called Love and Other Dangers. And I'm excited to see that come out. And I'm also working on like I want to bring together a group of authors to create like a YA like fairy tale anthology. So those are my only 2 other projects in the
Only girl,
yeah.
you're busy.
Yeah. So
Well, my previous projects, the most recent one that I'm actually it's going to be upcoming again is I'm getting back to my Reaper University. It's Dark Academia, and it started from a short story that was in the Girls of Might and Magic? Yeah, it was the Girls of Might and Magic anthology. And I just like, you know what? I want to see Academy with no romance, and it's just all about like fighting. And Reaper University is a school of magic, University of Magic for necromancers and mages and reapers and things. So my main character in that, she doesn't have well, she grew up not having magic to find out that she actually do. She just manifested late, and then she get accepted. Well, she got told she's going to the school that you don't apply to. They choose who they want to go there. So it's just like 3 years of just her learning, and I'm finally getting back to that for next year. So hopefully those will be dropping like boom boom at some point in 2024. And my other project, because I have a fascination apparently with mages and necromancers and witches, is my finishing up my Kindle Vella stories called Cursed, and it's about this one lady. She's half fae, half human, and she didn't realize she was half fae. But you know, she can see the dead, she can reap souls, she can bring them back to life, she can like bring back zombies and stuff. But and she's she's retired and she's out trying to get some dead bodies from the grave, and everything goes wrong, and she get like bit or something, and she's cursed, and the curse lasts for 7 days 7 nights, and the story takes place over those 7 days and nights as it progressively gets worse, and she dies if she doesn't find the person who cursed her. And it's like funny, but it's witty, and it's like a lot of pop culture added to it, so it's like completely different from a lot of the other stuff that I was writing. But um it's fun, and I'm almost done with that, and then I'm gonna actually pop it into like ebook and paperback form over by the end of this year actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. um, I recently dropped prior to the Eldritch Trials, the fourth book of my Siren series. Let me be like Keisha. It's about Serenata, who is the daughter of a siren and a warlock. Both sides of her family tree think she's too powerful to exist, and they're all out to kill her. This is a spicy adult urban fantasy. I put that out there because not all of my books have the spank tickle pickle, but this does. I just don't want nobody coming to me like, my daughter read that book. Look, honey, I told you that wasn't for your daughter. Okay. But that is now a 4-book series that I thought was going to end at 3. Book 3 came out in 2016. So I thought it was over with, but she came back like, I got more to say. So book 4 came out this year. I'm currently revising my back catalog. Right now I'm working on my Gen Rebellion series, which, unlike Evangeline, where the humans and the supernaturals work together, in this world, humans and supernaturals went to war and the humans lost. So humans are pretty much almost extinct in my Gen Rebellion series. I don't really like writing about humans if y'all haven't seen a pattern. So they're pretty much like living in farms and stuff for vampires, and that's pretty much it. And then I'm relaunching that starting at the end of this year, because there's 6 books that were already published that I need to relaunch, and then book 7 will come out. And I'm also working on a new project, which is I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend, inspired by my TikTok prompts. So I don't know if you guys see me on TikTok, but sometimes I do stitch writing prompts where I'll stitch someone and write like a little intro to a story. And people were like, girl, you have done like 200 of these. Okay, where are these stories? We want the story. So I'm actually going to start transforming some of the ones that I love the most, that I actually had like a full story in my brain for. And I'm going to start writing those and publishing. So the first one will come out next year. So I'm working on that. And then I have a bunch of little secret projects that I can't really speak on right now. But it's about to be a busy couple years. So I am very excited about that.
So basically what all you ladies have told us is that we need to get off of here and just start downloading all the books, because and this is what I'm all about, is just fattening all the TBRs, so there's never a drought of books. And just on the show alone, I think I've got like 20 to 30 new reads that I need to read. So it's fantastic, and I'm so excited. I know we are pushing past the hour, but for the end of the show, what I always like to do is give us a word of blurredspiration. Give us some. I'm a Black nerd, and I love leaving everyone with inspiration. So just give us, in a sentence or two, give us a word of blurredspiration. Something that fills somebody's heart, or make some word of encouragement, a mantra, anything you'd like to leave us with.
So I have these cards on my desk that I actually like sending these little happy cards out with people who order for me. So let's pick one from the stack, and that can be mine. I love this one. It says, "Chill, it's only chaos." So yeah,
I love it.
I like that.
That's very much the vibe when you read these books too. I don't know. I guess for inspiration for the blurred community in general, I just want to tell people, like, enjoy this moment. You know what I mean? Like, we have the representation that we all have been like craving,
Mhm.
especially within
Yes.
the author community. And it's like this is the time that I feel like every one of the authors in this set and authors that I know, this is what we wanted when we were younger. This is the
Mhm.
representation. We wanted to see ourselves in the pages. We want to see ourselves behind the pen. And this is the moment. So if there's something that you want to see in the world and you aren't finding it with other people, sometimes you have to be the person to take that step and make it happen. And then you will find this amazing community of like-minded people. So step out on faith, meet your tribe, and yeah, chill because it's only chaos.
Chaos.
Cool.
Love it.
Mhm.
My advice would kind of be along those lines. Like, I feel like don't wait until something is 100% perfect to put yourself out there. You
Mhm.
have to go and like kind of make connections, and even putting something out there that's to your best ability but might not be the same as to your best ability 10 years from now. I think that's really important to not get in your own way or let the imposter syndrome hit, because I feel like that can come really hard for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And just like continue to just share other people and uplift other people, because it's not a competition between you and the
Mhm.
person over there. Like you're there, you can work together. You can do things to help uplift each other's voices.
Mhm.
So I've just been trying to find opportunities to do that. So yeah.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, it's like your dream is not dead until you are, because I feel like I've started writing, then I stop, or I'll start writing, then I stop. And I feel like since I've met Jessica, it's like we sort of cheerlead each other, and it's helping me to keep going, because I feel like I can be my heart, like my worst critic, and that's what kills my writing. And I'm like, okay, I can still keep going. I'm not like this story is not gonna, like, it's not gonna die, and it can always get better. And so it's like, if you have a dream for it, like I always tell people, you want to write. Your story is your story. No one can tell it like you can. But then whatever your dream is, it's with you for a reason. So you need to take that dream and run with it and see how far it goes.
Mhm. Think I would say is whatever you're doing, don't get discouraged if someone doesn't like it. There's something for everybody out there. Just keep at it, because someone over here may not like it, but someone over here is going to be like your super fan and they're going to love it. And then they're going to spread the word and share it with everybody else. So just keep going, because there's always like a light at the end of a dark tunnel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the inspiration, for just all the wonderful bookish joy that you have brought here to the Novel Creature Network. Thank you for your time, because you ladies are over here just creating some stuff. And now I don't know about anyone else watching, but I'm ready to just take the day and drop everything else and read. So thank you for your time. I'll have the links to the Eldritch Trials and anything else you guys would like to include. Just let me know, and I'll add it to the links. But thank you so much for your time. And thank you to everyone who's viewed, who's commented, and to those who will be watching in the future. Tune in next month. We're going to have Leslie Penelope as our author
Ooh.
of the month. And you can, again, choose your own adventure. She's got several books to read, or you can pick up from the months before that you've missed as well. We've got so much reading to do, so little time. So thank you for tuning in. And until next time.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.